Hey everyone, welcome to another $1,000 strap search. I've got my $1,000 in singles here and I'm about to show you what I found. But before I do, let's talk about this week's tip. Last week I brought up star notes and how many are actually out there, and it's a ridiculously high number. But the thing is, people don't consider why star notes are made. Star notes are made because there were notes that were not properly made and had to be pulled from circulation and replaced with star notes. With over 44 million star notes produced in the 2017 A series alone, that lets you know that there are a lot of mistakes. At some point, the BEP has to say, these are the guidelines for a note to pass inspection. And a note does not have to be perfect. In fact, so few notes are perfect, I struggle to ever see a graded 70 note. So there are many, many, many imperfections, whether it's centering, whether it's, an ink dot here or there. There's so many different things that go into making a note compared to making a coin. A coin is one shot and done. With notes, there's 3 different printing processes. There's alignment that has to be done. There's cutting. And we're talking about paper. So yes, there are so many different things that can go wrong. So the BEP sets guidelines. And if a note meets those guidelines, even though it's not perfect, it's going to go into circulation. With over 44 million notes not meeting those guidelines, that should let you know how common errors are, or at least things that aren't perfect. That's how common that would be. What is rare is when one of those notes that does not meet the criteria still manages to get through. Those are very few and far between, and that is why error notes are worth so much money. You probably are not going to go through thousands of notes and find an error. You're probably going to have to go to a shop or go to a show in order to find a genuine error that has value. I mean, obviously, these were all found in circulation at some point, but there just are not that many of them out there. And the number of people who collect errors, like myself, is not as broad as the number of people who collect notes in general, which is nowhere near the number of people who collect coins. So that is why the price of genuine errors goes through the roof. All right, let's get these out of the way and take a look at some of the stuff I found this week. Starting off, this is not an error. Okay, let me take this note by itself. It looks like there is a portion of the ink that is missing here. There's also a portion of the corner. Some people will say that this is called a lamination error, and they would be wrong. This is a damaged note, period, end of story. However, if I put my hand back here, maybe you can see this. What this note looks like is it looks like it started to peel apart and someone tore the front half off and it leaves the back half there. What actually happened is this piece of paper, which is not paper, it's a cotton linen blend, technically a cloth. Before they print, what they do is they put a coating on the note. That helps all the ink stick. They put a coating on the front and a coating on the back. So imagine all the little fibers of the cotton, and now the top portion has a coating on it to stick them all together, and the back portion has a coating to stick them all together. During certain conditions of high or low humidity, the fibers in the center of the note don't have anything holding them together, so they can come apart. When they do come apart, it's very easy for damage to occur. So it looks like there are 2 separate pieces of paper glued together. These are not 2 separate pieces of paper glued together. They are not laminated together. What they are is one paper made of cotton and linen with 2 applications of the layer on top to keep the note together so that you can print on it. Without that layer on top, imagine trying to print on a t-shirt and how everything would just crumble away. That's kind of why it's done that particular way. So no, this is not an error, just a damaged note. And let's see what else we got in here. This is as close to my birthday as I've ever found. And yes, I know it's in the wrong order. This would be the 29th of December, 1972. Probably not worth much because it's not in the proper order. But like I said, it's as close as I've ever come to seeing my birthday. This one is a trinary. No additional value in trinaries. 3s, 7s, and 8s. Here's 0s, 6s, and 3s. And quads. Quad 5s, quad 6s, quad 9s, quad 0s. These two are neat because they're actually consecutive, and they still are both quads. Quad 9s and quad 0s. What do they call those? A turnover? Something like that. Anyway, it doesn't matter because there's no additional value on these particular notes. Let's see. Quad 0s on this one. And some stars. 2021 B star note. 2017 star. Another 2017 star note. 2013. 2013 B, but the serial number is not in the duplicate range. The duplicate range is 250,000 and lower, and then 032 to 096. This one is well above that, so not a duplicate. Another 2013. 2009 star, 2009 star, and some older notes. 2003A, 2003, 2001, 1999, 1999, 1995, not a web note. 1995, and the oldest note I found, this is a shame. It is a crisp 1963B with major inking on the corners, and it does go through there. That's awful because this note is actually in really good shape. The 1963B Joseph W. Barr notes, people love to call them rare, but everybody saved them, so you actually find quite a few of those in circulation. All right, so what did I pull out this week? Well, since I was talking about errors, I pulled out one of my newer errors. This is a $100 bill from 1996, right there, right? Yep, 1996 series. And it's one of the monochrome notes, so I thought it was neat to have a monochrome with an error. And you can see the error. The error is, this is called an obstructed print, okay? What happened was either a piece of tape or a piece of paper, scrap paper, fell on the note while it was being printed. And then when they did the third print, the scrap of paper was gone. So the third print, the serial number, got printed properly. It's interesting to see notes like this. If you look real close, you can actually see this little line here, because during the print process, whatever the obstruction was there caused the ink to run just slightly, because you'd never have that line there unless there was something there for the ink to catch on and do that. So that's just really neat. It's clear that a portion of it was here, and then it would go this way here, so that is the scrap where the thing was, and obviously it fell off by the time they got to the third print. Overall, this note is pretty good. I'm probably going to send this out to get graded. So just a fascinating note. It's not perfect. It does have some minor issues, so it's not going to get a 60 or anything like that. But it might get a 58, because overall it's in pretty decent shape. So I went to look this one up in the book, and my new book arrived. This is the new edition of United States Paper Money Errors. This is the 5th edition by Dr. Frederick J. Bart and Bianca B. Bart. I met her at the show and actually bought some notes from her. And they said that their new book was coming out, so I made sure to order it. This covers errors, one of the best books on errors that you're going to find. And here is the chapter on, let's see, obstructed printings. It talks all about the obstruction. There it goes. There's the beginning of it. So obstructed printings, you can learn all about what they had to say about them. And then they show examples of the note. Here is a minor with just a little corner there. Moderate, this one is so big that it actually took out the entire seal and serial number. And a major, where most of the back is missing. So mine would probably be in the moderate range. When you start talking about price, you're talking, here's the size of mine, but this one has the retained fragment. And having the retained fragment, that's incredibly rare. And you can see prices are just insane for those. But when you talk about smaller ones, here's a smaller one right here. They're listing prices from $500 to $850 for a moderate obstructed printing. This book is great because it does show full color for all kinds of stuff. Again, here is the left portion of the overprint. That's gone, so this is $300 to $650. Portion of the back, $300 to $650. Smaller portion here, $300 to $650. Here's the bottom portion, a lower portion face plate. That's $300 to $550. This one's just a teeny little corner there, and they say $150 to $300. Here's another one, $450 to $750. So as the denominations go up, the price does go up a little bit. I'll show some more of these. Here's $200 to $450 for that little corner. The retained fragment, $12,500. That's pretty impressive. Another retained fragment there. Retained fragment here. The top portion of the 2750 to 2500. And the retained fragment with the 50, that's $10,000. Here's a 50 that has an obstructed print right there, just a small area, and they're still calling that $450 to $1,000 just for the small area on the larger denomination. The back there, $450 to $850. And the $100 bill here, where the serial number is obstructed, $650 to $1250. I think the closest you're going to find is this one here, which puts it at between $450 and $1,000. Even though mine goes this way and has the printing over there, I think this is a fair range, even though mine's 100 and this is a 50. So yeah, I could easily see that. Mine's about uncirculated, so even here you're talking $700. So yeah, I would put the value on this. It's somewhere in that range of $700, and I think you guys would pretty much agree with that evaluation. So that's what I've got for you guys this week. If you learned anything new, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. Love reading all your comments. Guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.